Extraordinarily, a report out says that from 2020, not a single personal, vehicle or bike theft was solved by police in between half and two-thirds of the 30,000 neighbourhoods in England and Wales, according to an analysis of police data. Let's just go through that again. Let's get a handle on this. Since 2020, not a single personal, vehicle or bike theft was solved by police in between half and two-thirds of 30,000 neighbourhoods in England and Wales. What on earth is going on? Some people are suggesting that effectively we have decriminalised small, petty theft. That's if you think having your bike stolen is petty. I don't particularly. Well, joining me to talk about this and what's wrong with this culture is Shabnam Chaudhri, former Detective Superintendent at the Met Police and somebody who's appeared just a few times on this show with me. Shabnam, is it that kind of crime has grown so much, the types of crime being committed against the person, I think, are getting more serious in every way, and that the police simply haven't got time to look after things? I mean, 20, 30 years ago, you know, personal thefts, you would expect an officer to come and visit the house. Doesn't happen anymore, does it?
That's exactly what we did, Nigel, and that was where we learned our bread and butter business, investigating crime, doing the most simple and the basics of crime that actually matter most to members of the public. And I think what's happened, I think it was about 2015, the National Crime Agency downgraded things like theft, bike theft, vehicle crime, drugs. All those kinds of crimes were downgraded because they were more concerned about dealing with cybercrime, such as terrorist activity, such as sexual offences, fraud online. Crime types have definitely changed without a shadow of a doubt. But unfortunately, one of the things that have been absolutely destroyed policing is the lack of neighbourhood officers within policing neighbourhoods.
Now, you say that, but there are some academic, left-of-centre think tanks who say there is no evidence that police being on the streets makes any difference.
Well, I speak through experience, so your academic can say what they like. What I will say to you is, having led neighbourhood policing when we had sufficient number of officers who could go out and deal with and investigate crimes that were given to them, such as burglaries, such as theft, such as a bike theft from somebody's front garden or whatever. All those types of crimes are no longer investigated because a lot of them have now been moved to frontline policing, who deal with critical incidents, who deal with significant number of mental health issues, who deal with violence against women and girls. So on top of that, they're investigating low-level crimes.
The mental health issue, I mean, several police officers have spoken out recently about this and said, look, we do what we do. We can't be social workers. We can't look after mental health patients. That is difficult, isn't it?
That's really, really difficult because they don't have the experience, they don't have the training, and they don't have the capacity or the understanding of who is stood in front of them and how they're actually dealing with them. This needs a partnership and collaborative approach. I know the Met Commissioner, for example, Sir Mark Rowley, has said that from September onwards, they're no longer going to deal with it. But you can't just drop it because it doesn't work like that.
No, if it's happening there in front of you.
Exactly. But what actually happens is when they're dealing with those types of crimes are not being investigated. There's a lack of experience. There's a lack of supervision. Crimes are closed as quickly as they are investigated or reported. And there's a difference between reporting and investigating. Officers need to understand you have to investigate, not report.
So we've downgraded all sorts of crimes, drugs, cannabis, vehicle theft, the theft of things from people's garden sheds, etc. And yet, this is really interesting, because something else is going on here. This is a sort of theory of mine. That crime in England and Wales in the year ending December 2022 showed that at the same time as no crimes were solved in 30,000 districts of England and Wales, but at the same time, overall theft decreased by 20%. Now, I don't find one set of figures very consistent with the other set of figures, because if your chances of being caught are now 0 in up to 2/3 of the districts of England and Wales, that wouldn't put you off from doing it. And I'm just beginning to wonder, Shabnam, I wonder whether the reason these numbers are down is that people have simply stopped reporting crime?
I think does play a part in it, especially when you're talking about the basic crimes that and I don't like to say basic crimes because
they're real to the people.
Hugely impact on the members of the public because it's really, important to them. But I think that let's talk about the bike thefts, for example, that have been not reported. Number one, I suggest that there's serious number under-reporting of bike theft. Number two, I would suspect that a lot of those that are actually solved are solved by the victims themselves, who go out and they'll view CCTV. They'll go out and investigate the crime first, and then they'll go and hand police officers a package to say, look, I've done your work for you. And I think people do get frustrated by that. They do get fed up with it. There's a huge lack of confidence within policing at the moment. So people don't trust the police, whether they think this is going to be investigated or not. And I think the conversation we were having earlier on is about, does this impact on your insurance?
Well, isn't this the problem? If you report a series of thefts that have taken place from your property, you're going to face a problem with your insurance premium. Better not to report it at all.
Well, I think some people probably think that, but also they weigh up the advantages, the disadvantages, whether there's going to be, it's time-consuming, whether they have to go to court in order to have these persons brought to justice.
Well, if I just think of my own family and friends, over the course of the last few years, the numbers that have been impacted by these sort of crimes is just astonishing. If you had a magic wand, what would you do? Is it the return of genuine community policing?
100%. Police community support officers, neighbourhood policing need to be uplifted very, very quickly. And actually, crimes need to be given back to those officers to investigate so that frontline officers can deal with the serious crimes such as critical incidents, murders, stabbings, gangs, all that kind of stuff, so that neighbourhood police officers can actually bond with the community and actually build that trust and confidence.